if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and f*** off, okay?
Ricky Gervais might just be the most unlikely superstar Hollywood has ever seen. A self-proclaimed chubby bloke from a working-class estate in Reading, Gervais defied all odds to become one of the most influential comedic voices of our time. But how did a failed pop star, scraping by on government benefits, manage to rewrite the rules of modern entertainment and stand toe-to-toe with Hollywood's elite, calling them out directly? The journey Gervais took was long-winded, but it delivered treasures like The Office, his cutting-edge wit, and his now legendary viral takedown of Hollywood's self-righteousness at the Golden Globes. But before he became the king of uncomfortable humor and the voice of the everyman, Gervais was just another guy with big dreams and even bigger setbacks. So how did Ricky Gervais go from a struggling musician to a global comedic icon? Well, let's start at the beginning, where an ambitious young Ricky boldly declared his plan to make it big, and failed miserably. Ricky had always dreamt of making it big, but no one ever really believed in him, not even his parents. He had gone to university, but it wasn't to study, it was to try and join a band. And join a band he did, an 80s pop group called Siona Dancing. The band was a decent success, quickly landing a record deal and releasing 2 songs, More to Lose and Bitter Heart, that both made the charts. Unfortunately for Ricky though, the record label thought this was a flop, and the band quickly broke up afterwards. As he was nearing his 30s, Ricky's life wasn't looking all too great, having spent some time on government benefits before finding a dull office job. Though Ricky's luck would turn around when he managed to weasel his way into a job at a radio station known as XFM. Initially, he hadn't a clue on what to do, but funnily enough, his show was pure comedic gold. It was at this point in his life that he realized that he just might have a knack for comedy. And so, at XFM, things were looking great for Ricky. And then, like all opportunities in Ricky's life so far, XFM was taken over by Capital Radio, who then cancelled the show. But this was actually a blessing in disguise. His friend Stephen Merchant convinced him to star in one of his own training videos about some office life skits that they had practiced before. In this video, Ricky would play a character known as David Brent. And well, let's just say the rest is history. This character, a bonehead boss desperate for approval, would become one of the most iconic characters in British television history. The funniest part is that in the first few weeks of The Office, ratings were terrible. It was actually the second lowest audience score that the BBC ever had. And that's when Ricky and Steve put their foot down, and they demanded they direct the show themselves. The BBC were forced to give over this power, because Ricky was older and wasn't desperate for the fame. So he basically told them, my way or the highway. And thank God for that, because ratings and viewership only skyrocketed from that moment on. In the meantime, Ricky also found himself working on other projects, building his repertoire on TV. And through these appearances, it became clear as day that Ricky was an incredibly funny and entertaining guy. So, by the tender age of 40, Ricky Gervais basically became an overnight success. From here, Ricky's career just kept growing and growing, landing huge gigs like The Ricky Gervais Show, one of the most influential and pioneering podcasts of all time. It would be through this radio show that Ricky would meet his next big break, Carl Pilkington. Alongside Steve Merchant, Ricky and Carl created a series called An Idiot Abroad, whereby Ricky and Steve would plan a bunch of outlandish trips for a rather simple Carl Pilkington. The Office was eventually adapted by an American company, giving rise to The American Office, which everyone knows went on to become one of the most successful sitcoms in television history. By the 2010s, Ricky had become immensely wealthy, crafted some truly classic TV, and built a thriving stand-up career. Across all of these projects, his versatility was on full display, not only delivering sharp, hilarious comedy, but also exploring profound and thought-provoking themes. With all this success and his growing presence in Hollywood, Ricky began to take on a different role in society. People were growing tired of being lectured on environmental responsibility by multimillionaires who jetted around the globe in private planes and limousines. And in the past decade or so, a new view of cultural works had taken hold, reshaping how we reflect on the the past. Take The Office, for example. An entire new generation has discovered and embraced the show, yet it has become a lightning rod in cultural debate. On the one side, you have progressive, woke critics who view The Office as offensive or inappropriate, while others see it as a heartfelt, funny series that addressed sensitive issues with nuance and warmth. This clash of opinions set the stage for the now infamous Golden Globes moment. Ricky Gervais' performance at the 77th Annual Golden Globe Awards became one of the most talked about moments in award show history. His opening monologue didn't just ignite social media, it sparked a widespread cultural discussion about celebrity accountability and the role of humor in navigating uncomfortable truths. Ricky Gervais was already an established comedian known for his wit and fearless commentary, but this took him to another level. Ricky delivered a sharp, unapologetic critique of Hollywood's self-importance by openly mocking the industry's hypocrisy, particularly when preaching morality while benefiting from questionable practices. He simultaneously entertained and provoked his audience, both in the room and beyond. Unlike his previous appearances, this Golden Globes monologue was far more targeted. While Gervais had always teased these celebrities, this time he went much further.
It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him.
Calling out systemic issues within the entertainment industry. A standout moment was his jab at Apple.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs shops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent.
Gervais' ability to insult the king to his face made the performance iconic. Few entertainers have ever had the courage to confront their audience, especially when it's composed of the most powerful figures in entertainment. Gervais also challenged the bubble of celebrity ego, emphasizing that their political opinions are irrelevant to the average viewer. This brutal honesty clashed with Hollywood's self-perception as cultural leaders and moral arbiters, creating significant backlash. Many stars found his approach insulting, with critics accusing him of cynicism and cruelty. His relentless humor, aimed at Hollywood elites, unsettled those unaccustomed to being scrutinized. For an industry so deeply invested in image and narrative control, his unfiltered commentary forced Hollywood to face uncomfortable truths about its flaws, which many in the industry would rather ignore. And by doing so, he reinforced his reputation as a comedian who speaks truth over power, gaining respect from viewers outside the celebrity bubble. This moment also highlighted his belief in authenticity, as he consistently prioritizes honesty and creative freedom over pandering to public opinion. This distinction allows him to explore controversial topics with nuance, using humor to provoke thought and self-reflection rather than harm. His jokes about Hollywood's hypocrisy weren't meant to insult individuals, but rather to expose the absurdity of these larger-than-life individuals that became too proud for their own good. Ultimately, Gervais' monologue was much more than a comedic performance. It was a cultural statement. His fearless critique, rooted in humor and self-awareness, reminded viewers of the power of comedy to challenge norms, expose truths, and bring people together through laughter.
That's it. Good night. Thank you. Please donate to Australia. Have a great time. Get drunk. Take your drugs.